President, as well as former vice captain of the netball team that brought back the gold. She's none other than Ester Cheah, right?
Okay, hi everyone. Hi. Hi. Wow, you're very. I was just sitting over there and like y'all are really very dead. So I don't know why. And like it's not even February, so wake up. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. So today I'll be sharing on the persona of an exemplary leader. And it sounds like quite a fancy phrase. But I think what it just means is what it means to be a worthy role model. So if you haven't made the link, the word exemplary is like from the same family as the word example. So it's about you being an example. So yeah, I would rather use this as the title of my talk, which is what defines a great role model. Yeah, and let me just clarify that I don't consider myself to be an exemplary leader because that's not for me to say. I'm here to tell you how I tried to be one and to share about people and events that have influenced me positively. So hopefully you will be influenced positively as well. Okay, before we go any further, I need to realize that leadership is part of your identity. And if you can see those three things, can anyone tell me what those three things are? It's very primary school. Sorry? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, masks. They are masks. Okay. Yeah, and I actually changed the title of my talk because I don't really agree with the word persona, because that implies like another identity, and I think that leadership is part of your identity, and it shouldn't be something you turn on and turn off. So it's not like a mask. It's not like a mask. Yeah. So it's not a different you, and you are either a leader all the time or not at all. Because it's dangerous. First of all, it's dangerous for yourself when you have two drastic sides and then you don't know whether, oh, in this situation, am I supposed to be a leader or can I just like, chill and slack off? And secondly, it's very inconsistent for the people you're trying to lead. Yeah. So if you haven't already done so, I hope that you understand that being a leader is part of who you are. It's not indivisible from your other personality or whatever, and you can't be isolated. Okay? So since leadership is part of your identity, that leads us to a rather important question, which is, who are you if it's part of your identity? Okay, and this sounds quite existential, but my answer is very straightforward. Yeah, you are a student leader. At this point in your life, you are a student leader. And I think in AC, it's very easy for everyone to disregard the student part because we are very caught up with CCAs. And that's not a bad thing. It's a very strong part of the culture of the school. But that being said, a lot of people tend to sideline their studies and say that, oh, okay, I'll get to this later. Let me just finish my season first. Or let me just finish my term as, president or captain. And then I will get to my studies later. But that just shows how misguided our priorities are. Okay, so if you are outstanding on court or in the field, or in the pool, or in the dressing room, if you are a performing artist, or during club meetings, but you don't show the same effort in your studies, you may be a good leader, but you're not a great role model. You may be a good leader, but you're not a great role model. Great role models know what's important and then they act accordingly. And putting your CCA in front of your studies may make you seem noble and self-sacrificial, but it's actually, it's not that good an idea, and you'll probably regret it later on. Yeah, so don't think that like, oh, I'm just gonna 100% for my team, and then you're like so blinded by that, and then you just, you exhaust yourself on the field, and then you can't do anything for your studies. That's not something you want your members to be doing, so it shouldn't be something you do yourself. Okay, so yeah, let me just establish that you are a student first, and your leadership doesn't only exist during your CCA hours, it doesn't only exist on the court or on the field, but it exists all the time. And actually, as you can see, it exists even after you leave AC. So it really becomes part of you. And if your members can't look to you all the time, why should they look to you at all? Like if suddenly I have a situation and if I think my leader is inconsistent, why would I look at my leader, right? Am I making sense? Not even making sense. Okay, great. Okay, so before we move on, I'll just touch a little bit on putting your studies first, because I think that really contributes to you being a great role model. It's a very big commitment that you have to make. And some things that I did to make sure I was prioritizing properly was to turn up for every lecture and tutorial. No matter how I felt, or like if the rest of my class didn't go, I'll just go and like, you know, chill by myself. Yeah, because I felt that attending classes at least showed that I had an intention to focus on my studies, as long as I'm in school. And another thing I did was I never asked for an extension for my work. Yeah, through season and events and everything. I'm not saying you have to do that, but to myself, it was a commitment I made because I didn't want to operate on another timeline than the rest of the class. And I didn't want to come back after season or after an event and be like, oh, I have like 5 tutorials to do and everyone is done already. So yeah, these are just suggestions, but I'd encourage you to make some similar commitments that will indicate to you that you are putting your studies first. So it's like about personal accountability. Yeah. And because, I mean, you have to be accountable to yourself and realize that you are a student leader. Yeah, so to recap, you are a student leader, you are a student first, and you are a leader always. Wow, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I actually think it's quite impressive, and I came up with it myself. So. Self-praise is no praise. Okay, so as a leader, you will have a sphere of influence. You have a sphere of influence. Okay, your direct sphere of influence are the people you are presumably leading, like your CCA mates. But here in AC, all of you as student leaders, you will have a long badge. See? R increases with the length of your badge. So your sphere of influence increases as the length of your badge increases. Okay, so basically you all have a bigger sphere of influence now. And you are in a visible position with the opportunity to impact a lot of people. And it's really not an easy thing to get used to. Sooner or later, you will realize that people are watching you, especially when the J1s come in, they'll like point at you and stuff like that, and like you know they're talking about you kind of thing. And more often than not, they are expecting you to be a great role model to others. So this is like students and teachers included. Everybody wants to see y'all being a good role model. So what does this mean? To me, being a role model means not giving anyone an excuse to give less than their best. That's the definition I worked with for like the whole of my JC life. Because I don't believe in excuses, and I'm not Ester Cheah is not an excuse. So yeah. Okay, so I first grasped this concept of not giving anyone else an excuse 2 years ago when I first started training with AC Netball. And at the time I was really new to the system, and there's not much opportunity for verbal communication for the seniors to explain stuff to you. If you know my coach, you will know why. She doesn't really want you to talk. So this was exacerbated by the fact that I only joined the CCA in about February or March. Yeah, so everybody else was already training since November or December, but I only came in after everybody came in. Yeah, so at that point in the year, February or March, training is already quite intense, and you can't really discuss or have like your little conference while you're training because coach doesn't let that happen. But I didn't need that to happen, and why was that? Because everything I learned about how to do drills properly, I learned from my seniors, and they didn't have to tell me anything. They literally showed me how it was done. They were like, like catching crazy passes and stretching to their limit. Every time it's not enough, they'll say it's not enough. even though I can see they're already dying. And that set an expectation for me to take their lead and give my best as well. And in fact, we had a rule during training, which is that you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to tell someone that she can catch a bus. You're not allowed to tell someone that, try harder if you're not dying yourself. So if you know you're not giving your best and people can kind of tell, then you're not allowed to say anything at all. Yeah. So they really gave 100% at every training. So for myself, doing anything less would not be their fault for not teaching me, and I can't blame them. But it would have been my fault for not learning. And they really didn't give me an excuse that I couldn't say that, oh, I've never seen this done before, because they were doing it. So when it was my turn to lead, the same thing followed when I was the one being watched. I can't expect them to catch every pass at their maximum if they don't know what it looks like. I can't expect them to improve on their run timings every training if I don't improve as well. Yeah, and I can apply this as easily to council staff. I can't scold other councillors for not knowing, say, the lyrics to a cheer if I keep forgetting also. So, yeah, not giving anyone an excuse to give less than the best. So you can appreciate the often harder role of leaders, which is to set the benchmark or to set the precedent before you are allowed to expect that from your members. It starts when you do it right yourself before you can ask anyone to give 100%. Yeah, so in a way, being a leader and a role model is to be driven enough to attempt great things in the faith that your members will follow. So you have to have that. You have to have that drive and desire to attempt great things, and you have to believe that your members will measure up to what you are trying to do. Yeah. So in your own capacity, think about things you can do during training or rehearsals that you want to see your members doing. Maybe it's being sharper with movements, or doing drills more thoroughly, or giving 100% every time you run through a dance or a song, that kind of thing. And make sure you are doing it first. An outcome of this is that you have the right, you then have the right to correct or discipline your members if they're not performing, because as I said earlier, the onus is on them if they are not learning properly after you've already showed them. Yeah, but if you don't give your all and you fail to teach in the first place, then the fault is yours. Yeah, so no one wants to be led by someone who hasn't proven his or her worth. So a rule of thumb is be the kind of leader that you want to follow. Yeah. Because then, yeah, you wouldn't be giving anyone else any excuses. Okay, so now I'll talk about some challenges that I faced in trying to do this. It's not always easy to model the way. And at times it may appear uncool, and it can make you seem very annoying to people that you keep, pushing and pushing, and you're kind of pushing them out of their comfort zone and they don't want to go there. So I've experienced being a great annoyance to my classmates, and I constantly guilt trip my classmates because my classmates are really terrible and they don't go for class. So as I said earlier, I had those commitments to myself about giving my 100% in my studies. And I was always a thorn in their side when they didn't want to go for class. And at times I would question myself, why am I making such an effort? And why am I being such a burden? I mean, I can just go and I don't have to be visible and try and pull them along with me. I can just go and leave them there. But I realized that my intentions have always been to make sure that the people around me weren't shortchanging themselves. And I know they're not stupid, and if they put in effort, they can really do well. So I wanted them to put in as much effort as they were capable of, because I believed they could do better. And that kind of ties in with having the faith that your members will follow up. Yeah. So I still remember this one incident that I feel was a very successful attempt at being a positive influence. So it was the day of a GP package test, and our package test was in the later part of the day. So one of my classmates asked a friend from another class to take a picture of the test paper. And then like he was just like